The rhythmic beep of medical monitors had transformed into Isabel Bennett's everyday melody. In the sterile hospital corridor, she held tightly to a stack of bills that felt like a death sentence. The number of her mother's room, 407, loomed before her, heavy with unspoken blame. $37,000. The figures danced in her vision, every numeral a burden resting heavily on her heart. "Miss Bennett?" The voice of the hospital administrator interrupted her contemplation. "It's essential that we talk about the payment arrangements." Isabel adjusted her waitress uniform, frayed from a double shift that had wrapped up only a few hours earlier. "I'll come up with a solution." "Finished." She spoke, her voice more composed than her trembling hands. At 27, she had perfected the skill of projecting strength beyond her true emotions. The rain hammered relentlessly on the hospital windows, echoing the cadence of her heartbeat. She would find a way to make it happen. She consistently did. 2 jobs, little rest, and a steady intake of coffee and resolve had brought her to this point. Yet, when faced with those figures, even her renowned tenacity began to falter. The November morning that altered the course of everything began just like any other, steeped in fatigue and dark brew. The Lucky Bean Cafe, where Isabel spent her morning shifts, offered a cozy refuge from the biting chill of Manhattan's winds. Steam curled from the cups, reminiscent of whispered prayers, while the aroma of fresh pastries nearly concealed the aching desperation within her bones. "Double espresso with an extra shot, please." A sharp British accent sliced through the morning turmoil. Isabel glanced upward, her well-rehearsed smile of customer service becoming momentarily rigid. The man before her radiated an undeniable strength, enveloping the space around him. His meticulously crafted charcoal suit likely surpassed her annual rent, yet it was his eyes that captivated her, steel gray and completely lacking in warmth. "What is your name?" she inquired, the Sharpie hovering above the cup. "Daniel Harrington." He averted his gaze, preoccupied with tapping on his phone, his manicured fingers dancing across the screen. Another affluent executive who regarded service workers as mere fixtures. "For $75, she declared, infusing her voice with a subtle edge. He finally raised his gaze, truly seeing her, and a change flickered in those gray eyes. "Welcome to this place." "I'm really not. It has been 8 months since I arrived." Isabel held his gaze with unwavering intensity. "You simply overlooked it." A subtle smile danced at the edges of his lips. "It seems I overlooked something." He retrieved a polished wallet, drawing forth a black card that exuded affluence. "Allow me the chance to rectify things for you. Join me for dinner." Isabel's laugh cut through the air, surprising everyone around her. "I do not engage in romantic relationships with clients, Mr. Harrington, particularly not those who believe that everyone can be bought." Rather than taking offense, his grin grew even broader. "Everyone has a price, Miss Bennett," he remarked, glancing at her name tag. "It's simply about discovering the correct figure." He extracted a business card, placing it on the counter with careful intention. $1 million for a single night. The world appeared to shift on its axis. Isabel's fingers clutched the counter, her knuckles pale and tense. "Leave," she murmured, her voice quaking with fury. "Consider it," he remarked, nudging the card nearer. "You seem like a person who could really benefit from $1 million. She seized the card, her mind set on shredding it into fragments. Yet her hand faltered, betraying her intentions as it slipped the card into her pocket instead. "Your espresso awaits you at the far end of the counter, Mr. Harrington." Her voice was frigid. "I kindly ask that you do not return." With a final sip of his coffee, he stepped out, the bell above the door ringing softly to mark his departure. Isabel stood there, her heart racing, the weight of his card pressing heavily in her pocket. She loathed him, despised his presumptions, his hubris, his knack for tossing around life-altering sums of money as if it were mere pocket change. Yet above all, she loathed that faint whisper lurking in the recesses of her thoughts, the one that murmured of medical expenses and her mother's dwindling hopes, the one who pondered, in the stillness of the night, what lengths she would go to in order to protect her only family. She was gone. The morning rush persisted, a whirlwind of expressions and requests. Yet Isabel navigated it all as if on autopilot. Her fingers brushed against the card in her pocket, each touch a haunting reminder of the deal she had made. That evening, in her small apartment in Queens, she perched on her bed, fixated on the business card. Daniel Harrington, Chief Executive Officer, Sterling Enterprises. His phone number was inscribed in graceful lettering, each digit a lure she found hard to resist. Beside her rested her mother's latest test results, accompanied by a final warning notice from the hospital's billing department. The experimental treatment that could potentially save her mother's life felt as distant as Mars. Utterly unattainable. Isabel's phone felt weighty in her grasp, the screen mirroring her conflicted emotions. $1 million. On a single night. An uncomplicated formula yielding intricate outcomes. Her finger lingered above the keypad, quivering under the gravity of decision. Ultimately, it wasn't pride that shattered. It was a glimmer of optimism, wishing for her mother's well-being, longing for a tomorrow that was free from the scent of coffee grounds and the weight of despair. The phone rang thrice before his voice came through, velvety like a fine vintage spirit. I anticipated your call. Isabel shut her eyes, allowing a solitary tear to glide down her cheek. I despise you, she murmured. That's not a requirement, he replied, his voice carrying a hint of warmth and amusement. Tomorrow night at 8, the Royalton Hotel awaits. Contract will be prepared shortly. She ended the call in silence, the phone falling from her grasp onto the bed. Beyond her window, the city lights shimmered through her tears, a mosaic of shattered aspirations and urgent decisions. In the distance, a siren wailed, its cry resonating with her own silent turmoil. Tomorrow, she would barter a fragment of her essence with the devil, dressed in a finely tailored suit. However, this evening, she would permit herself to grieve for the girl she once was, the one who held the belief that dignity was beyond value. Unbeknownst to her, Daniel Harrington occupied his penthouse office, fixated on his phone, contemplating why her rebellious spirit excited him more than any corporate transaction he had ever encountered. He had engaged in transactions involving companies valued in the billions. Yet the way Isabel Bennett uttered her broken, "I hate you," made him feel as if he had just taken the most perilous gamble of his existence. The stage was set, the players engaged, yet neither grasped the profound cost they would incur, not in mere currency, but in the depths of their emotions. The Royalton Hotel stood before Isabel, a towering structure of glass and steel, epitomizing opulence. At 8 o'clock on the dot, her reflection in the revolving door revealed a stranger staring back. The black dress she had indulged in felt like a protective shield, even though the cost had caused her to flinch. If she was going to make a deal with the devil, it would be on her own terms. The lobby shimmered with timeless elegance, adorned in marble and crystal, each click of her heels amplifying her sense of being an outsider. At the front desk, she prepared herself with a subtle clearing of her throat. I'm here to meet with Daniel Harrington. Ah, Miss Bennett. The concierge's smile was a flawless display of artistry. Mr. Harrington awaits your arrival in the penthouse suite. Kindly accompany me. The ascent in the elevator stretched across 40 floors, filled with a cascade of second thoughts. Every digit that flickered on the screen seemed to herald an impending event. Unchangeable. Her phone vibrated with a sudden buzz. A message from the medical facility. For the time being, her mother's condition remained stable. The reminder fortified her determination. The penthouse door swung open, unveiling a suite that dwarfed her entire apartment. Expansive windows that stretched from the floor to the ceiling presented a sweeping vista of Manhattan's dazzling skyline. Yet it was Daniel who drew the eye. He lingered beside a leather armchair, drink in hand, his presence enveloping the room like a thick haze. Right on time, he remarked, his British accent enveloping the words with a smooth elegance. I value timeliness. Isabel's reply was frigid. Let's get straight to the point. Contract was mentioned. A fleeting smile graced his lips as he motioned toward the dining table, where a folder awaited its moment. Let's get down to it. I appreciate that. He approached her, and she willed herself to remain steady, resisting the urge to retreat. Care for a drink? No. With a calm demeanor, she glided past him toward the table, her hands unwavering as she unfurled the folder. The document contained multiple pages, published, on luxurious paper that carried a weight of significance. Daniel lingered just behind her, his warmth palpable in the air between them. It's quite simple. One evening, $1 million. Absolute confidentiality is essential, naturally. Isabel's gaze moved over the document, every clause increasingly detached and precise. Is this something you do frequently? The inquiry slipped away before she had the chance. Cease this immediately, he replied with a firm no. Something in his tone compelled her to turn and meet his gaze. His gray eyes held a piercing intensity, probing deeply. You are the pioneer. I find it hard to accept what you're saying. He shrugged, the movement graceful even in its nonchalance. Embrace your own convictions. The funds will be moved prior to any developments occurring. At any moment you have the freedom to step away. Isabel's laughter rang out, sharp and fragile. Your generosity is truly commendable. She faced the contract again, retrieving her pen with purpose. The heaviness in her hand was akin to lead. Hold on. Daniel's hand enveloped hers, and the touch ignited an unexpected jolt within her. There's an additional detail you ought to be aware of. She yanked her hand back. What is happening? Additional stipulations regarding my quietude? Concerned that I might spill the beans to the gossip columns? No. He circled the table, compelling her to lock eyes with him. This is not a matter of power, and I hope you grasp that. Or command. So what is the subject matter, Mr. Harrington? Her voice oozed with irony. Affection? Link? His expression grew stern. Isabel, you captivate me. Your boldness. Your sense of accomplishment. Even now, as you prepare to relinquish your dignity, you regard me with an air of superiority. Perhaps it's because exploiting someone doesn't elevate your status above theirs, she retorted. It merely provides the illusion of wealth. The air was thick with an electric tension between them. As Daniel drew nearer, Isabel sensed her breath hitch in her throat. Please sign it, he murmured gently, or simply turn and leave. But cease the act of feigning that you're here unwillingly. Her hand quivered as she grasped the pen once more. The signature she inscribed at the bottom of each page seemed to echo the sentiment of composing her own farewell. As she completed her task, she stood tall, locking eyes with him, her gaze unwavering and resolute. Here it is. You have my full attention for the next 12 hours. I trust it will prove valuable beyond your $1 million. Daniel grasped the contract, his fingers intentionally grazing against hers. Take a moment to look at your phone. She extracted it, and there it lay. A message from her financial institution. Just like that, 7 figures. The view left her feeling lightheaded. Now, he said, his voice lowering to a pitch that sent shivers down her spine. I don't claim you, Isabel, yet my desire is to envelop you entirely. He extended his hand toward her, yet she retreated. Where's the bathroom? A subtle furrow formed on his forehead. Over there. Isabel snatched her purse and hurried away to the refuge of marble and chrome. Her image in the large mirror revealed rosy cheeks and bright, wide eyes. She splashed cold water on her face, mindful of preserving her carefully applied makeup. The bank notification remained open on her phone. With quivering hands, she began the process of transferring funds to the hospital's account. The confirmation arrived without delay. Her mother's treatment had been completely covered. The understanding ought to have provided solace. Instead, it summoned tears that she fiercely blinked away. She refused to shed a tear. Not present. Not in his presence. Outside, the sounds of Daniel bustling about the suite reached her ears. The gentle sound of glasses meeting. The gentle notes of a melody starting to unfold. He was crafting the perfect backdrop for the dream he had acquired. Isabel stood tall, adjusting her posture as she examined her reflection one last time. The woman who gazed back was at once known and enigmatic. Identical emerald gaze. Her jaw was set with the same unwavering determination. Yet a profound change had occurred. She had crossed a threshold, and retreat was no longer an option. With a steadying inhale, she pushed the bathroom door open. Daniel leaned against the windows, his jacket thrown aside, shirt sleeves rolled up to showcase his strong forearms. He turned at the sound of her heels clicking. The wooden flooring. Improved? He inquired, and there was a softness in his voice that felt almost tender. Refrain. She approached him, drawing near enough to catch the scent of his luxurious cologne. Stop feigning concern. This is a transaction, don't forget? His hand rose to gently cradle her face, his thumb gliding over her cheekbone. What if I desire something beyond that? You can't buy more than that, she whispered, her body betraying her as she leaned into his touch. Time will tell. His other hand wrapped around her waist, drawing her closer to him. Let's discuss that possession I brought up earlier. His lips captured hers with an intensity that surprised them both. Isabel's final clear reflection was that she had erred. This was more than a mere exchange. The flames roared, and they stood on the brink of destruction. Beyond the penthouse windows, New York City shimmered like a vast expanse of stars, oblivious to the turmoil occurring within its heart. Two souls, entwined in a dance of longing and rebellion, on the brink of realizing that certain elements, the most perilous and heart-wrenching, are beyond any monetary value. The initial kiss awakened a deep, instinctual response within each of them. Daniel's composed exterior shattered as his fingers wove through Isabel's hair, her struggle against the surging wave of longing that threatened to overwhelm her defiance. The city lights behind them cast shadows throughout the suite, transforming their meeting into a captivating interplay of light and shadow. I long to be with you, Daniel murmured against her neck, his voice heavy with longing. Each and every one of you. Isabel recoiled, her heart pounding fiercely within her chest. With quivering fingers, she extended her hand toward the zipper of her dress. The whisper of it gliding down resonated in the electric stillness that enveloped them. Hold on, Daniel instructed gently. He made his way to the bar, filling a crystal glass with 2 fingers of amber liquid. You're trembling. I'm fine, she retorted, yet took the drink that was offered. The whiskey scorched her throat, igniting her nerves with a fierce sense of bravery. Daniel observed her with those steely gray eyes, now shadowed by a depth that transcended simple longing. We needn't, please stop. Isabel placed the glass down with an exaggerated force. Let's not kid ourselves about the reality of the situation. This night is yours, so embrace it fully. His jaw clenched at her words. In just 2 strides, he found himself before her once more, one hand firmly holding her waist while the other gently lifted her chin upward. I purchased time, Isabel. Not for submission. Not you. The unexpected revelation took her by surprise, yet before she could gather her thoughts, his lips were on hers once more. This time, the kiss held a unique quality, both assertive and tender, measured yet filled with fervor. Her body betrayed her will, surrendering to him as her dress cascaded to the floor. Daniel's sudden gasp was satisfying. His hand glided along her sides, igniting sparks of heat on her skin. You're beautiful, he murmured, and for a fleeting moment, she nearly convinced herself that he truly meant it. The bedroom called softly, a refuge woven with Egyptian cotton and bathed in moonlight. Every movement felt like a yielding, every caress a struggle between dignity and desire. As Daniel gently placed her on the silk sheets, Isabel shut her eyes, struggling to hold back unexpected tears. Gaze upon me, he urged gently. As she met his eyes, the fervor in his stare took her breath away. Remain by my side. Here it is. At this moment, their bodies intertwined, creating a harmonious blend of soft breaths and hushed requests. With every fleeting second, Daniel's grip faltered, his refined facade disintegrating in the face of her undeniable presence. For Isabel, every touch was a paradox, both desired and undesired, a blend of pleasure and pain, a dance between freedom and captivity. In the aftermath, They found themselves entwined in sheets, enveloped in a heavy silence. The glow of Manhattan's lights cast intricate designs upon their skin, as unspoken thoughts lingered weightily in the atmosphere surrounding them. Daniel's fingers meandered over her shoulder, creating patterns that felt unexpectedly intimate, leaving her uncertain about her own desires. Why should it be me? The inquiry slipped out before she had a chance to restrain it. Daniel's hand came to a halt. What prompted your acceptance? You're aware of the reasons. Isabel propped herself up, holding the sheet tightly against her chest. The medical expenses incurred by my mother. Negative. He leaned on one elbow, intently examining her features. That's the reason you thought about it, not the reason you agreed. The remark resonated deeply. Isabel quietly rose from the bed, deftly collecting her disarrayed garments with swift, purposeful motions. I ought to take my leave. Remain. The utterance hovered in a space that felt like both an order and a heartfelt request. That was not included in our agreement. She slipped away into the bathroom, reappearing moments later, fully attired, her defenses restored. Daniel had slipped into his pants, yet he was still without a shirt. His hair tousled in a manner that rendered him nearly relatable. Join me for dinner tomorrow. Isabel halted mid-motion, her hand poised to grasp her purse. What is happening? Evening meal. An authentic outing. No agreements, no payment. A harsh chuckle slipped from her lips. What is the reason? You've received the value of your investment. His expression grew somber. There's an essence present and it resonates with you as well. I sense a strong urge to depart. As she moved toward the door, his next words halted her in her tracks. You're fleeing due to fear. Isabel spun around, her anger surging like an unstoppable wave. Fearful? What do you mean? The overconfident CEO who believes he can purchase whatever he desires, who views individuals as items to be exchanged. Negative. He approached her, and she fought with all her might to remain still. Your fear stems from the unexpected turn of events that unfolded between us. It was more than mere physical connection, Isabel, and that fills you with dread. Your perception is quite misguided. Yet her voice trembled, revealing her inner turmoil. Could it be that I am? His hand cradled her cheek, and for a fleeting moment, she leaned into the warmth before regaining her composure. Join me for dinner. Challenge me if you can. Isabel recoiled from his touch. Farewell, Mr. Harrington. She dashed from the suite, the sharp click of her heels on marble resonating like the crack of a gunshot. The descent in the elevator felt like a whirlwind of unnamed feelings. In the lobby, the same concierge offered a polite nod. Yet Isabel fancied she detected a glimmer of judgment in his gaze. The night air struck her with a jolt, and she inhaled deeply, attempting to sharpen her thoughts. Her phone displayed multiple missed calls from the hospital. Finally, some positive news. The experimental treatment is set to commence tomorrow. Her mother would survive. What was it that made her feel as though she had lost something essential this evening? In his penthouse suite, Daniel gazed out the windows, observing her silhouette fade away into a taxi. The sheets retained the lingering scent of her perfume, while his body resonated with the echo of her touch. He was taken by surprise. This empty pang, this urgent desire to reach out to her again. His phone vibrated, signaling a message from his business associate. Were you successful with the wager? Daniel gazed at the words, a chill creeping into his gut. The wager. A boozy dare to demonstrate that all had indeed participated. The cost. It felt devoid of purpose now, harsh in a manner he hadn't foreseen. He chose to leave the message unanswered, opting instead to pour himself another drink. The whiskey offered no solace. The memory of Isabel's vulnerability in those unguarded moments lingered, as did the haunting look she cast his way just before fleeing, a gaze that seemed to affirm every worst suspicion she harbored about him. The night loomed before him, devoid of all but regret and an unsettling realization that he had erred gravely. It wasn't about selecting her, but rather the misguided belief that he could simplify their connection into a mere exchange. As dawn drew near, two individuals remained awake in separate corners of the city, one in an opulent penthouse, the other in a humble queen's apartment. Both grappling with the understanding that certain prices were exorbitant, and some emotions were beyond any monetary value. The Lucky Bean Cafe took on a new character under the unforgiving glare of the morning sun. Isabel navigated her shift with a sense of detachment, her thoughts ensnared in a relentless cycle of memories that refused to let go. With each chime of the door, her heart leaped, anticipating the sight of Daniel's towering silhouette. Yet he never arrived. "You look absolutely terrible, Ruby Martinez," her coworker and closest friend remarked as she restocked the pastry case. "Challenging evening?" If she only understood. Isabel managed to conjure a smile. "Feeling quite exhausted. Mom begins her new treatment today." Ruby's deep gaze softened. "What fantastic news. The hospital has given its approval. I discovered a method to cover the cost." The words lingered bitterly, reminiscent of ash on her tongue. "Come on, share the details. Did you hold up a financial institution? Strike it rich with a lottery win?" Ruby's laughter faded as she caught sight of Isabel's face. "Hello, what's truly happening?" Before Isabel could react, the cafe's door swung open, ushering in a rush of frigid air and a man who sent chills down her spine. Not quite Daniel, but nearly as troublesome. She recognized his face from Sterling Enterprises' website during her late-night research, as he was her business partner. "Welcome to Lucky Bean," Ruby exclaimed. Yet the man's gaze was entirely captivated by Isabel. "Miss Bennett." His smile was superficial, lacking the warmth of genuine emotion. "Richard Sterling. Could we have a moment to chat?" Isabel's fingers gripped the counter firmly. "I am currently engaged in my work. It revolves around Daniel. And your setup." His voice faded on the final word, yet Ruby's arched brows signaled to Isabel that she had caught it. "Take your break," Ruby murmured softly. "I can handle this." With a hint of hesitation, Isabel loosened her apron and trailed behind Richard to a secluded table in the corner. He lounged with an easy confidence, the kind that comes from knowing how to take charge of any space. "I'll keep it short," he remarked, adjusting his Italian silk tie with precision. "It appears that Daniel has overlooked our small bet following your meeting." The term wager struck her with the force of a tangible impact. "What are you referring to?" Richard's grin grew broader. "Oh, he never mentioned it to you? We engaged in a light-hearted wager regarding his ability to persuade someone. A person of strong convictions. A person who would typically never entertain the idea of sharing a night with him. Naturally, for the right price." The cafe appeared to lean at an angle. Isabel's fingers pressed into her palms beneath the table. "You are not being truthful. Am I?" He retrieved his phone, glancing through the messages before setting it down in front of her. Stood out stark and clear. A dialogue exchanged between him and Daniel a fortnight ago. The wager. The obstacle. Her name is a whisper in the wind. A melody that lingers in the air. $1 million was his concept, Richard persisted, observing her expression. "I found it to be over the top, yet he was adamant." Someone remarked, "As if you would settle for anything less." "His judgment is truly exceptional, I must say." Isabel rose suddenly, the sound of her chair scraping against the floor breaking the silence. "Leave now." With a sense of eagerness, he slid a business card across the table. "If you're open to exploring other options, I can present a proposal that significantly exceeds Daniel's offer. After, oh, you've demonstrated your adaptability." The sharp sound reverberated throughout the cafe. Richard's head jerked to the side, a crimson mark blossoming on his cheek. The handful of morning patrons grew quiet. "Keep your money," Isabel snapped, "and tell Daniel he can go to hell." She rushed past a startled Ruby and into the back room, reaching the employee bathroom just in time for the tears to flow. The tears shook her frame as the heavy burden of her shame engulfed her. More than a mere exchange. A wager. An engaging experience. The device vibrated in her pocket. The sight of Daniel's name on the screen filled her with an overwhelming urge to scream. With trembling fingers, she chose to block his number. In the cafe, Ruby sat, her expression filled with worry. "Could you share what that was all about?" Isabel brushed away her tears. "Negative. Absolutely. I'm uncertain. Begin by explaining the reason behind your unexpected action towards one of New York's most influential venture capitalists. He earned it without a doubt. Isabel inhaled unsteadily. Do you recall when I mentioned that I discovered a method to cover Mom's treatment costs? Clarity illuminated Ruby's gaze. Oh, darling, what have you done? The narrative flowed forth amidst new tears. The proposal, the agreement, the night that held no significance for them yet was everything to her. Ruby absorbed every word, her grip firm around Isabel's hand. I'll kill them both, she declared when Isabel finished. Wealthy individuals manipulating the fates of others. Isabel let out a harsh laugh, tinged with bitterness. For a brief instant I truly believed he had some concern. Isabel. Ruby's voice carried a soft warmth. The payment has been completed. Your mother is receiving care. That is what truly holds significance. Could it be? At this moment, it seems as though I've given away more than just a single evening. The bell above the cafe door jingled once more. This time it was Daniel. He lingered in the doorway, his typically polished demeanor a touch unraveled, suggesting he had hurried to arrive. Isabel. His voice resonated throughout the cafe. It's time for a conversation. Ruby positioned herself between them. She's perpetually unavailable. Kindly. The phrases escaped his mouth like an unfamiliar melody. Allow me to clarify. Isabel squared her shoulders, wielding her anger like a shield. Could you clarify what you mean? What about the wager? What did you gain by persuading the struggling waitress to compromise herself? Daniel recoiled. It wasn't exactly that way. Is that so? Your friend Richard just shared with me precisely what it was like. She approached him, drawing near enough to catch the scent of his well-known cologne. Seems you enjoyed quite the chuckle. The confident girl who ultimately revealed her genuine worth. I did not find amusement. His voice carried a gritty edge. What transpired between us? It was a transaction. Nothing further. She averted her gaze, her tone unwavering, even as turmoil raged within. Well done, Mr. Harrington. Your wager has paid off. Kindly leave my cafe now. This is far from finished. Indeed it is. She locked eyes with him for the final moment. There are indeed certain things that hold immeasurable value, Daniel. Similar to honor, confidence, perhaps another occasion. Place your bets on those. He lingered in silence, a shadow of anguish passing over his expression. He turned and departed, the door shutting with a definitive sound that resonated in the stillness. Ruby draped an arm around Isabel's shoulders. Are you all right? Negative. Isabel observed from her vantage point as Daniel's vehicle departed into the distance. However, I shall be. The remainder of her shift slipped by in a haze. Upon her arrival at the hospital, her mother radiated joy as she shared the news about beginning treatment. Isabel sat beside her bed, grasping her hand, seeking solace in the understanding that, amidst the turmoil, some good had emerged from it all. Text, you seem troubled, my dear, her mother remarked, gently pushing Isabel's hair back as she had done in her childhood. I'm doing well, Mom. Feeling a bit worn out. Do you recall what your father used to say? The heart understands its true value. I never truly grasped that until this moment. Isabel felt a constriction in her throat. Could you clarify what you mean? No matter the weight you bear, no matter the cost, you have paid your dues. I perceive it within your gaze. However, keep in mind that love's debts carry no interest. The payment has been completed in its entirety. The tears flowed once more, yet this time, they brought a sense of purification. Her mother embraced her as tears flowed, offering silent support without probing for answers, simply providing the unwavering affection that no sum of money could ever purchase. In a different part of the city, Daniel found himself in his office, fixated on the contract laid out before him. With careful precision, he fed it into the shredder, observing as the paper that had connected them for a fleeting moment transformed into a cascade of confetti. Yet the true connections, the ones neither had foreseen, proved to be far more resilient than they could have imagined. Daniel Harrington had refrained from alcohol for 3 days, yet his office continued to feel as if it were in a whirl. The Wall Street Journal resting on his desk proclaimed Sterling Enterprises' most recent acquisition a resounding success. He found it impossible to muster any concern. "You look terrible," Richard remarked, casually leaning against the doorframe of Daniel's office. "Are you still lost in thoughts about the waitress?" Daniel's grip on his pen grew firmer. "Leave now. Let's go, Danny. It was merely a wager. She achieved her million. We found our source of amusement. All parties benefit." The pen shattered in Daniel's grip, ink splattering across his fingers like crimson droplets. "You shouldn't have said anything to her. It was inevitable." Richard adjusted his posture. The tie, a symbol of disdain that Daniel had grown to loathe. "You were engaged. It was quite a humiliating experience." Awkward? Daniel rose gradually. "Do you want to hear something truly embarrassing, Richard? That I allowed you to persuade me to regard someone's existence as if it were merely a game? Did I truly think I could rationalize it as anything but sheer cruelty? Oh, come on." Richard let out an exasperated sigh. "She is doing well. Perhaps you're on the hunt for a chic designer wardrobe with your cash at this moment." The sharp crack of Daniel's fist striking the desk startled Richard. The funds were directed immediately towards her mother's healthcare needs. Each and every cent. "Surely you were aware of that, weren't you? You gathered your insights before making your move at the cafe." A brief shadow of unease passed over Richard's features. "It was a matter of business. No, it was intimate. You couldn't bear the fact that I was genuinely experiencing something genuine." "Indeed," Richard chuckled. "You purchased her for an evening, Daniel. That isn't genuine. It's a simple exchange. Kindly leave my office." Daniel's voice was eerily silent. "And what about Richard? Please evaluate our collaboration. Are you really being serious about a waitress?" "Negative. Regarding the realization that I finally see you for who you are." Once Richard departed, Daniel slumped into his chair, burying his face in his hands. On his computer screen, an email from his private investigator revealed images of Isabel at the hospital alongside her mother. They wore smiles, their faces radiating hope. The treatment was proving effective. He ought to take some pride in that at the very least. Instead, the awareness coiled in his stomach like a blade. Across town, Isabel was enduring her own personal nightmare. Each patron's expression at the cafe brought Daniel to her mind. Each British accent caused her to recoil, yet she continued to press on, maintained a cheerful expression, continued to draw in air. "Your loyal patron has returned," Ruby declared amidst the bustling afternoon crowd. "The charming architect who never forgets to leave a tip." Excessive. Isabel looked up to find Michael Chun in line, his gentle expression a vivid contrast to the piercing memories of Daniel that lingered in her mind. "He inquired about you yesterday," Ruby continued, her tone nonchalant yet her intent unmistakable. "He mentioned that he would really enjoy taking you out for dinner one of these days." "I'm not ready." Isabel tightened her apron with a bit more urgency than required. 3 weeks have passed, Belle. Don't allow those fools to take control of your happiness. It's not about those individuals. Yet, in the very moment she uttered those words, Isabel was acutely aware of the deception. It centered around Daniel, about how he had the power to make her feel both vibrant and insignificant simultaneously. The afternoon slipped away in a haze of requests and obligatory grins. As her shift came to a close, Isabel made her way directly to the hospital, her refuge in recent times. Her mother sat up in bed, a hint of color returning to her cheeks for the first time in months. "There's my girl," she radiated joy. And just in time, the physician brings delightful tidings. Dr. Patricia Chun, who happened to be Michael's sister, stood by the bed with a tablet in hand. "The treatment is exceeding our expectations. If things continue like this, remission could be within your reach in just a few months." The words ought to have evoked sheer delight. Instead, they arrived with the acrid flavor of how this wonder had been purchased. "That's truly remarkable." Isabel embraced her mother gently. Dr. Chun added with a puzzled expression, "There's something else." This morning, The hospital was the fortunate recipient of an anonymous donation, sufficient to fund the complete course of treatment and subsequent care. Isabel stood still. Excuse me? Everything was covered by someone. Previous invoices, upcoming care, everything involved. Dr. Chun beamed with warmth. It appears you are under the watchful eye of a guardian angel. The room swirled gently. Isabel made her way out, her steps faltering as she headed to the hospital's garden area. Before she had a chance to reconsider, her phone was already in her hand. Daniel's number was dialed with shaking fingers. He picked up on the first ring. Isabel? Could it have been you? Her voice trembled. What about the donation? A moment of stillness. Absolutely. What is the reason behind this? For it was never about the financial gain. His voice had a gritty edge. And I wanted you to be aware of that. I have no interest in your pity funds. It's not compensation for wrongdoing. It's a form of atonement, restitution, a means to rectify the harm I've caused, as much as I can. Isabel settled onto a bench, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. My trust isn't something you can simply purchase back. Daniel, I understand. He appeared weary. I have no intention of doing that. I felt the urge to engage in something genuine, something that transcended wagers, authority, or the need to demonstrate superiority. Genuine? She let out a harsh, humorless laugh. Are you aware of what that signifies? I did not. Not before you. The unfiltered truth in his voice caused her to momentarily lose her breath. Isabel, I would appreciate the opportunity to discuss everything in person. Negative. Yet her voice trembled. I am unable to do that. Unable to? Or perhaps not. Both options are valid. She brushed away her tears. I appreciate your assistance with my mother. However, it must remain. Previously, the quiet lingered between them, thick with things left unsaid. At last, Daniel found his voice. I comprehend. However, Isabel, what transpired that evening? It was genuine for me as well. She ended the call before he could catch the sound of her tears. The phone pressed against her heart, a painful reminder of what was lost. Within the room, her mother lay in a tranquil slumber, liberated from suffering for the first time in many months. The view calmed Isabel. No matter the price paid or the burdens borne, her mother would endure. That must suffice. Ruby stood by the door of their apartment, ready and resolute, as Isabel returned home, ice cream in hand. Reveal everything. At this moment, Isabel shared the details of the donation, recounted Daniel's call, and expressed the tangled emotions that lingered in her mind. Do you want to hear my thoughts? At last, Ruby spoke. It seems he has strong feelings for you. That's absurd. Consider it carefully. The additional contribution, the manner in which he gazes at you. It's astonishing that he's essentially waging a battle against his own organization regarding this matter. Excuse me? Isabel adjusted her posture. Ruby raised her phone, displaying a business news article. Sterling Enterprises is undergoing a division. Daniel is acquiring Richard's stake and reorganizing the entire company. The financial news is buzzing with it. Isabel gazed intently at the photo that accompanied the article. Daniel exited the board meeting, his expression etched with familiar lines that reminded her of that night in the hotel. That fateful night when everything transformed. It's of no consequence, she concluded at last. There are certain matters that cannot be resolved through financial means or elaborate displays of affection. Ruby nodded in agreement. Yet perhaps they can be mended with honesty, patience, and perhaps a touch of compassion. Isabel lay down that night, her thoughts swirling in a restless dance. In her dreams, she found herself in that hotel room once more. But this time, when Daniel urged her to stay, she complied. Upon awakening, she found her pillow soaked with tears that eluded her understanding. From his penthouse windows, Daniel gazed out at the shimmering lights of Manhattan, the city sprawling beneath him. In his grasp was the business card he had handed to Isabel on that initial day, now taken from his desk where she had placed it the following morning. A corner bore the mark of coffee, a testament to the origins of their tale. He had constructed his dominion on the conviction that all things could be valued. Now, gazing at the card that had initiated everything, he understood that some things held an irreplaceable value, and he had lost them before he even recognized their significance. The charity gala at the Metropolitan Museum wasn't quite Isabel's scene. Yet when Dr. Chun extended an invitation for her to be a guest speaker and share her mother's inspiring success story, she found it hard to decline. The experimental treatment program required additional funding, as well as her mother's support. The journey of recovery showcased its remarkable potential. As she stood before the mirror, draped in a borrowed evening gown, Isabel found it hard to see the familiar reflection staring back at her. The rich, deep blue silk draped around her, enhancing her elegance and lending her an air of regal sophistication. Ruby had taken it upon herself to apply her makeup, elevating her typical casual look into a realm of sophistication. "You look absolutely stunning," Ruby proclaimed, as she deftly adjusted the neckline of the dress. "Those affluent elites won't see it coming." Isabel offered a faint smile. "I simply need to make it through this speech without losing my composure." "You'll be just fine," Ruby said, giving her shoulder a reassuring squeeze. "Keep in mind you are not anyone's possession. You stand as a testament, a child of resilience, a champion." The words resonated more profoundly than Ruby could ever realize. 2 months had gone by since that fateful night, the one that altered the course of everything, marked by Daniel's confession and his earnest efforts to make amends. The media remained abuzz with news of the company's restructuring, the removal of Richard Sterling, and the enigmatic transformation of Sterling Enterprises' corporate culture. The cab journey to the Met was nothing short of surreal. Isabel held her petite purse tightly. Within it lay her meticulously crafted speech. She had rehearsed it innumerable times, resolute in her commitment to honor the cause. The museum's majestic entrance glowed with an enchanting light, sophisticated figures in formal attire gracefully making their way up the steps like contemporary nobility. Isabel inhaled deeply and stepped forward, her borrowed heels echoing against the marble floor. "Miss Bennet." Dr. Chun made her entrance, radiant in a striking red gown. "I'm truly delighted you could join us. Come, I'd like you to meet a few individuals." The following hour unfolded in a whirlwind of introductions, medical professionals, researchers, and benefactors. Isabel shared her mother's journey, observing the captivated expressions and the rustle of checkbooks being pulled out. Transforming her pain into purpose brought a sense of fulfillment. At that moment, her gaze fell upon him. Daniel stood across the room, striking in a black tuxedo, engrossed in conversation with a group of investors. He remained oblivious to her presence, allowing Isabel the opportunity to observe him closely. His appearance had changed. He seemed more gaunt, the contours of his face more pronounced. The typical aura of self-assured bravado had given way to a more muted presence. Following her gaze, Dr. Chun remarked on his pivotal role in funding the program. "The generous contribution from Mr. Harrington enabled us to broaden the scope of the trial to an additional 10 patients." Isabel felt a tightness in her chest. "I had no idea he would be present. He stands as our most devoted advocate at this moment." Dr. Chen's voice conveyed a sense of intrigue, even as he chose to keep his identity hidden. "Are you familiar with him? We have crossed paths." Isabel averted her gaze, yet Daniel caught a glimpse before she fully turned away. Their gazes intertwined amidst the throng, and time itself appeared to freeze. He began to approach her, but another group of guests blocked his path. Isabel seized the moment to quietly slip, retreating, seeking solace on a serene balcony that gazes over the city. The cool night air caressed her flushed skin. Below, Manhattan glimmered like a field of scattered diamonds, oblivious to the unfolding dramas above. "Are you escaping once more?" She remained unmoved by the sound of his voice, not racing, merely inhaling. Daniel positioned himself next to her, mindful to keep remoteness. "Your beauty is truly captivating. Refrain. It's merely a note I've made." He clutched the balcony railing tightly. "I wasn't aware you were going to be speaking this evening." In the same vein, Isabel finally turned her gaze toward him, Unidentified benefactor? A fleeting smile danced at the corners of his mouth. I aim to keep things simple. Is the solution really just to throw more money at the situation? In an attempt to demonstrate something, he pivoted to meet her gaze completely. This isn't concerning you, Isabel. Or we. It's about engaging in something significant. The genuine quality of his voice took her by surprise. What prompted this shift in perspective? Me. The term lingered in the air between them. You revealed to me that achievement devoid of essence is merely a grand illusion of failure. Isabel's meticulously built barriers quivered. Daniel, I don't seek absolution. He swept his fingers through his hair, an unexpectedly exposed action. I may not feel worthy, yet I want you to understand that encountering you transformed everything. An extraordinary revelation worth a fortune? The words spilled forth with a sharp edge, yet her voice trembled. No. He moved in closer, and this time she stood her ground. An invaluable treasure. I dedicated my existence to the notion that all things were for sale. You demonstrated that I was mistaken. The echoes of applause floated in from within. Isabel's speech was approaching quickly. I must leave, she murmured. Join me for dinner. She gazed at him intently. Excuse me? This evening is not suitable. Not on the morrow. When you feel prepared. When the time comes for you. His gaze locked onto hers. Nothing but honesty, no agreements, no tricks. Just as she was about to reply, Dr. Chun emerged at the balcony entrance. Isabel, you'll be up in 5 minutes. I'll be there shortly. She glanced back at Daniel, only to find him already moving away. Consider it, he murmured gently. That's all I request. Her speech was a resounding success. Standing at the podium, recounting her mother's journey and the marvels of contemporary medicine, Isabel felt empowered, complete. As she spoke of the unseen benefactors who enabled everything, her gaze locked onto Daniel's amidst the audience. He gave a subtle nod, a gesture of recognition and an unspoken connection lingering in the air. The remainder of the evening drifted by in a blur. Increased introductions, deeper dialogues centered on hope and healing. Throughout the entire experience, Isabel sensed Daniel's presence, as if it were an invisible force surrounding her, captivating her gaze, even from a distance. As the evening drew to a close, she found herself once again on the balcony. The city had settled into a hush, yet New York always retained a pulse beneath the surface. Your address was truly remarkable. Ruby's message illuminated her phone screen. How are you managing? Isabel gazed at the message, contemplating the essence of truth and the journey toward redemption, reflecting on the toll of pride and the value of forgiveness. He invited me to dinner, she typed. Indeed. Ruby's reply was prompt. So? I'm uncertain. Indeed, you certainly do. Isabel shut her eyes, recalling the unfiltered truth in Daniel's voice, the transformations he had undergone, the lives he was aiding in saving. Not for display, not for her, but because something within him had irrevocably changed. As she reopened her eyes, she caught sight of him departing the museum beneath, his lone silhouette aglow in the light of the street lamps. Without allowing herself to dwell too much on it, she retrieved the business card she had held onto for all these months. Not the original, but the one he had abandoned at the cafe after the revelation unfolded. The back bore his personal number, hastily written. Her fingers danced across the keys. Tuesday at 8 in the evening, Lucky Bean. We wrap up at 7, but I'll have coffee prepared for you. His reply arrived just moments after. I will be present. Isabel tucked her phone away, her heart pounding with an emotion that danced between fear and a glimmer of hope. Certain debts cannot be settled with mere currency. Some wounds required more time than riches to mend. And some tales she was just starting to weave, to understand that they didn't conclude where you expected them to. High above, the stars struggled to shine through the haze of New York's bright lights. Isabel reflected on her mother, becoming more resilient with each passing day, exploring the concept of second chances and the cost associated with seeking redemption. Sometimes the most precious aspects of life are those that money simply cannot acquire. She brushed her fingers against the balcony railing, where Daniel's hand had lingered moments before, sensing the lingering trace of his warmth. Tuesday was just around the corner, a mere 5 days ahead. Time ample for preparation, reflection, and determining whether certain risks merit a second chance. Yet, beneath the surface, she was aware all along. Certain decisions transcended logic, pride, or even the instinct for self-preservation. They delved into the heart's unique calculations, assessing value in ways that no ledger could ever capture. Lucky Bean appeared transformed after hours. The once vibrant cafe lay in stillness, chairs flipped atop tables, as the evening light stretched long shadows across the floor through the windows. Isabel navigated her closing routine with a sense of detachment, striving to soothe her pounding heart. "You really don't need to go through with this," Ruby had said before departing. "We still have the option to cancel it." Yet Isabel understood it was necessary. Certain discussions are essential, regardless of the challenges they may present. At 7:58, she heard the sound of his car arriving outside. Daniel exemplified punctuality in every sense. She observed through the window as he neared the door, taking note of his casual attire. He opted for dark jeans and a cashmere sweater, a departure from his typical suits. Embrace vulnerability, shed the defenses. The bell rang softly as he stepped inside. They lingered for a moment, the air thick with unexpressed thoughts. "You arrived," she finally remarked. "Did you really believe I wouldn't?" "I was unaware." She pointed towards a corner table, the sole one that remained arranged. "The coffee is prepared and waiting." He trailed behind her, absorbing the altered surroundings. "I've never encountered anything quite like this. Tranquil. That's one way to put it." Isabel carefully poured 2 cups from the French press she had meticulously prepared. "One could be devoid of content, similar to many aspects of my life recently." He took the cup, their fingers grazing against each other, if only for a moment. "I appreciate your willingness to meet. I remain uncertain about my reasons for doing it." She positioned herself opposite him, the petite table fostering a closeness that was simultaneously soothing and perilous. "Indeed you are." Their gazes intertwined. "The very reason I inquired. It's essential that we complete what we began." "What is that?" "What about the transaction? What about the wager?" The sting of the words lingers, yet it has dulled over time. Daniel placed his cup down with great care. "I am worthy of that. However, what I truly seek is the complete truth, every last bit of it. I am all ears." He inhaled deeply. "The wager with Richard truly happened." We found ourselves in a spirited debate about the essence of humanity, fueled by our inebriation. He remarked that everyone had a cost, suggesting that principles were mere indulgences that people could not afford. I found myself in disagreement, only to later recognize the hypocrisy in my stance. I had never faced a trial, never confronted the dilemma of my beliefs versus my very existence. "So you chose to put someone else to the test?" Her voice carried a gentle softness. "I chose to validate his perspective, which turned out to be even more regrettable." Daniel's fingers tightened around his cup. "Upon witnessing you that morning, your pride and strength stood out, making you the ideal target. I believed it was time to impart a lesson on the nature of reality. Rather, you imparted one to me." He locked eyes with her, concerning bravery, concerning selflessness, concerning the true essence of strength. That evening, it transformed everything. Isabel savored her coffee, lingering in the moment. "What prompts you to share this information with me at this moment?" "Because you are entitled to the complete reality. Since that moment, I've dedicated each day to transforming into someone deserving of the reflection I glimpsed in your eyes before the wager was revealed." The unfiltered truth in his voice stirred something deep within her. "And have you transformed into that individual?" "Negative." His response took her by surprise. "Yet I am making an effort. Each choice I make, every shift within my company, every contribution to the hospital, they aren't driven by a desire for redemption. They revolve around development, about ultimately grasping what is truly significant." So, Daniel, what truly holds significance? Veracity, intent, the capacity to gaze into the mirror and perceive something beyond mere numbers and figures. He inclined his body slightly forward. Your presence is significant, Isabel. What I did to you holds significance. I will dedicate my entire existence to rectifying my mistakes. She rose suddenly, craving distance. The cafe suddenly seemed too cramped, too personal. I require a breath of fresh air. Daniel trailed behind her as she approached the front door. She unlatched it, emerging into the cool embrace of the evening air. The street lay in serene stillness. Nearly all enterprises have shut down. Throughout the day, I despised you, she finally admitted. Not for the financial gain or even the wager. Yet, you managed to evoke genuine emotions amidst the artificiality surrounding us. It was genuine. He drew nearer, an irresistible force surrounding him. The situation was not right. The start was marred. What transpired between us? That was genuine. What makes you certain? Ever since that moment, I felt a profound change within me. His voice lowered. I take stock of each passing moment, each choice, every emotion tied to that night, and all things come up lacking. Isabel pivoted to confront him, realizing he was nearer than she had anticipated. I have changed as well. I understand. His hand rose, lingering close to her cheek yet refraining from contact. You possess great strength. More insightful, even more exquisite. Refrain. Yet she remained in place. Simply the reality, Isabel. Nothing to prove, no tricks involved. Simply a man narrating. A woman who captivates him completely. The streetlight illuminated his face, accentuating the fragility in his expression. Isabel sensed the delicate barriers she had built beginning to quiver. I can't return, she murmured. I'm not requesting that you do. Please proceed. Alongside me. His hand at last found its way, gently cradling her cheek. There are no agreements, no costs. Only we remain, discovering the essence of reality. The contact of his skin with hers ignited a spark that coursed through her entire being. Visions of their evening entwined resurfaced. Neither the shame nor the anger, yet the bond, the sensation of recognition, genuinely observed. What if it fails to succeed? At that point, we will understand that we made an effort. We refused to allow fear, pride, or the past to rob us of our future. Isabel shut her eyes, tilting gently into his caress. I feel a sense of fear. Excellent. His thumb glided softly along her cheekbone. I feel the same way. This holds significance. A vehicle drove by, its beams of light cutting through the darkness, shattering the stillness of the moment. Isabel took a step forward, returned, yet an unspoken change lingered in the air between them. I ought to finish up correctly, she remarked. Allow me to assist you. They navigated the cafe side by side. Their movements resembled a meticulous choreography of consciousness. As she secured the last drawer and activated the alarm, Isabel experienced an unusual tranquility enveloping her. Join me for dinner, Daniel proposed as they rose to their feet. Beside her vehicle, an authentic outing. Take your time. Embrace the unknown. Simply a meal, some dialogue, and the unfolding of whatever comes after. Isabel cast her gaze upon him, truly observed him. The overconfident CEO had departed, supplanted by something more authentic, more relatable, still intricate, still able to inflict pain, yet also able to evolve. She stated a single condition. Everything. We begin anew. Enough with the apologies. Let go of the guilt. Simply two individuals exploring each other's depths. The grin that spread wide. His visage reshaped him. Agreed. As she drove home later, Isabel found herself smiling as well. The past may not be forgotten, but perhaps it can be transformed into something new. Transformed from a scar into insight. Transforming a wound into resilience. Her phone vibrated, signaling a message from Daniel. I appreciate your company this evening. In pursuit of coffee. In pursuit of truth. Embracing opportunities anew. She responded with what seemed to be her most genuine words to him. Thank you for being a person who inspires trust and opportunity. The city lights shimmered and danced as she navigated the road. Each one shines brightly in her unique galaxy of decisions and transformations. At times, she found herself in the process of learning. The most valuable treasures in life came without a price tag. And the most precious currencies weren't quantified in dollars. Yet, in reality, it is bravery and the readiness to start anew. Daniel's concept of a first date took Isabel by surprise. Rather than opting for a fancy restaurant or a posh club, he proposed the High Line at sunset. She discovered him poised at the Gansevoort Street entrance, gripping 2 paper cups from a nearby supplier. "Hot chocolate," he said, presenting her with a cup, superior to champagne for strolling and conversing. The consideration behind it, selecting a public setting, maintaining a relaxed atmosphere, moved her more than any elaborate display ever could. She noted the absence of a suit once more, her gaze sweeping over his dark peacoat and scarf. "I'm embarking on a new endeavor." The smile carried a hint of humility, the essence of humanity. They set off on their journey. The serene park remains tranquil during the early evening hours. October had adorned the city gardens with hues of gold and crimson. As the sun dipped below the horizon, the Hudson transformed into a shimmering river of molten gold. "Share something genuine with me?" Isabel said, cradling the cup to warm her hands. "A secret you've kept to yourself." Daniel paused, lost in thought. "I despise my work." "Excuse me?" She halted her steps, fixating her gaze on him. "Yet you constructed your dominion." "I constructed a confinement facility," he clarified. Each acquisition, each merger, each strategic maneuver. They were entirely focused on demonstrating a point. For my father, for the universe, for my own being. What comes next? At this moment, I am focused on transforming it into something significant. The hospital initiative is merely the starting point. He rested against the railing, gazing out at the sprawling cityscape. I aspire to generate genuine value, rather than merely accumulating wealth. Isabel examined his profile closely, observing the burden of change etched in the contours of his visage. That's the reason Richard battled against the restructuring with such determination. He was perplexed. I found it difficult to comprehend. Daniel shifted his gaze toward her. "It was you who accomplished that, just so you know. Helped me understand the distinction between cost and worth." "Daniel, please allow me to complete my thought. That evening, observing your battle with the decision, noticing the weight of it reflected in your gaze, it shattered a part of my being, prompted me to reevaluate all my beliefs regarding value." A refreshing breeze flowed through the park, bringing with it the fragrance of the river and the last blooms of the season. Isabel drew her jacket tighter around her, seeking warmth against the chill. "It's your turn," he said gently. "Share with me something genuine." She inhaled deeply. "I fear losing my sense of self." "Could you clarify what you mean?" "The connection we share is undeniable, almost like a force drawing us together. Yet, when I surrendered to it before, I lost my sense of self." She locked eyes with him. "I fear losing myself in you once more." Daniel inched nearer, yet refrained from making contact. "I hope you stay present. I desire for you to radiate brilliance, beautiful language, genuine expressions." He waved his hand toward the sprawling city laid out before them. "Behold all of this. I once viewed it as a playing field. Opportunities to seize, victories to achieve. You helped me recognize the human aspect within it. The tales that flicker through each illuminated window." They kept strolling, moving through the Chelsea market passage where the aroma of freshly baked bread and coffee enveloped them. "My mother inquired about you," Isabel exclaimed unexpectedly. Daniel's step wavered. "Is she aware?" "All things." Isabel observed his response with keen attention. She longed to encounter the individual who had rescued her existence. "I did not." "Indeed, you did. The upfront payment, the undisclosed contribution, the financial support for research. Her life is a testament to your influence. You are the reason she is alive." Daniel paused, pivoting to meet her gaze completely. All my actions revolved around finances. Your decision to take that $1,000,000, despite the heartache it caused, and to prioritize her life over your own pride, exemplifies true bravery. Tears welled in Isabel's eyes. I had never considered it from that perspective. Naturally, that wasn't the case. You're preoccupied with self-criticism. His hand sought hers, radiating warmth against the chill of the evening air. I would love to invite you to dinner. There's a quaint Italian spot just around the corner that crafts pasta with a touch of reverence. The restaurant was quaint and genuine, adorned with red checkered tablecloths and candles nestled in wine bottles. The owner welcomed Daniel warmly, guiding him to a cozy corner table nestled beneath a charming brick archway. Do you frequent this place? Isabel inquired as they got comfortable. I discovered it after, following all that has transpired, ventured into the city under the cloak of night, seeking clarity for my thoughts. He perused the menu, yet his gaze remained unfocused. I found myself here countless nights, lost in thoughts of you. The confession lingered in the air, sincere and unfiltered. Just as Isabel was about to reply, the waiter appeared, bringing with him a basket of bread and a bottle of wine. To new beginnings, Daniel suggested, lifting his glass high. To truth, Isabel replied, gently clinking her glass against his. The meal was absolutely delightful. Unpretentious, earthy meals that conveyed a sense of heritage and thoughtfulness. The conversation meandered through a myriad of topics, touching on both the profound and the trivial. Her mother's healing journey, his business evolution, their mutual appreciation for early morning coffee and late-night strolls. Dance with me? Daniel said, his voice smooth as the soft music floated from the restaurant's ancient speakers. There isn't a dance floor. Since when have we adhered to traditional norms? He extended his hand in a gesture of invitation. In the intimate nook between tables, they moved in harmony. It had a distinct quality compared to their initial evening. Nothing but sincerity, no ulterior motives, just two souls navigating their journey towards one another. I never told you, Daniel whispered softly into her hair. Yet that evening in the hotel, when you departed before the first light, I found it hard to draw a breath. It seemed as though you carried away every breath of air. Isabel's grip on his shoulders grew firmer. I had to leave. If I had, I understand. However, I wished for you to. Oh, how I longed for you to. His voice carried a sincerity that compelled her to raise her gaze. His eyes held a depth of recollection and an intensity that hinted at something perilous lurking beneath the surface. Daniel, I'm not going to kiss you, he murmured gently. Only when you feel prepared. Only when you have faith in me once more. The journey to her car was filled with silent potential. The city pulsed with nocturnal vibrancy, yet they navigated through their own sphere of serene focus. Thank you, Isabel said as they arrived at her car. This evening, for all that has transpired, I appreciate the opportunity to improve myself. He grazed her cheek softly. Shall we plan for dinner again next week? Indeed. The response arrived promptly and decisively. Later that night, as she lay in bed, Isabel's phone illuminated with a new message. I truly meant what I expressed regarding the kiss, but understand that when it occurs, it will be a choice made by you, since it is your desire, because it's genuine. She pressed the phone against her chest, her heart pounding with intensity. Following all that has transpired, the agreement, the wager, the suffering and recovery. Here they were embarking on a new beginning, creating authenticity from the remnants of deception. Her response was straightforward. Authenticity is worth the wait. In his penthouse office overlooking the city, Daniel perused her message and a smile crept across his face. The shimmering lights of Manhattan sprawled beneath him, yet this time, his thoughts drifted away from ambition and gain. He found himself lost in thoughts of rich hot chocolate and twirling in cozy little eateries, reflecting on the significance of new beginnings and the invaluable journey of rebuilding trust gradually, moment by moment. 3 weeks of genuine encounters had transformed everything and yet remained unchanged. Isabel eagerly anticipated their shared moments. Serene meals, leisurely strolls, dialogues that lingered until dawn. Yet the shadows of the past lingered around them, a persistent presence that lingers in every gathering. The piece that disrupted their delicate tranquility was published in Business Insider on a Tuesday morning. Ruby stormed into the cafe's break room, tablet clutched tightly, her face ashen. "Belle, you must take a look at this." The headline struck with the force of a punch. Sterling Enterprises division. The life-altering wager worth a fortune. Here lies a photograph of Daniel and Richard, accompanied by the narrative of their dispute, detailing the wager that ignited the conflict. Isabel's hands trembled as she absorbed the words on the page. The piece depicted her as an anonymous server, a mere piece in the chess match of the wealthy elite. However, those familiar with the players could easily piece together the clues. The device vibrated in her pocket. The sight of Daniel's name on the screen sent a wave of unease through her. "I'm en route," his message stated. "Allow me to elaborate." Yet, the harm had already been inflicted. Customers cast her odd glances, murmuring quietly among themselves. A woman cleverly captured a photo of her while feigning interest in her phone. "Return home," Ruby insisted. "I'll take care of your shift." Isabel gave a slight shake of her head. "No, I refuse to conceal myself." Upon Daniel's arrival 20 minutes later, she was attending to customers with a flawless efficiency, her expression an unwavering facade of calm. He appeared utterly shattered, his typical sheen diminished. "Isabel, absent from this place." She gestured towards the back door. "Just 5 minutes." In the alley behind the cafe, the autumn wind danced between the buildings, bringing with it the earthy aroma of impending rain. "It was Richard who leaked it," Daniel stated without hesitation. "He is attempting to tarnish the company's reputation ahead of the final separation." "Have you heard?" Her voice remained calm, even with the turmoil brewing within. "Were you aware that he intended to take this action?" "Absolutely not, I would never consider that." "Yet, you were aware it could be done." "It was not a question." "You were aware this might occur, yet you chose not to alert me." Daniel tousled his hair, a chaotic mess from the gusts of wind. "I believed I had managed to keep it under control. The legal team was meant to cease operations." Isabel raised her hand. "Enough already. Are you aware of the sensation? To see your most vulnerable moment broadcasted online? To be diminished to the server who traded her worth for $1 million. You are far beyond that." "Am I really?" "At this moment, I can only sense a feeling of being inexpensive and laid bare. It feels as though all our efforts over the past weeks were merely a response to setbacks." "That is not accurate." He advanced in her direction, yet she retreated. "What we possess is genuine." "Could it be? Or is it merely another exchange? Are you offering to buy my forgiveness rather than my physical presence?" The words struck him with the force of a physical assault. "What leads you to that conclusion? Following all that we've experienced together." "That's precisely the point, Daniel. We experienced lovely times, indeed. However, we never truly confronted the unpleasant ones. We merely covered them up with pleasant meals and kind phrases." Thunder rolled ominously above, echoing the chaos within her heart. Daniel appeared adrift, somehow more youthful in the absence of his typical assurance. He implored, "Please, show me how to make this right." "It's not possible." Emotions intertwined with the initial whispers of a downpour. "There are certain matters that remain beyond the reach of wealth, influence, or affection." "Affection?" His voice stumbled over the word. "Indeed, my dear." Isabel let out a harsh laugh. "Isn't that exactly what this is? The pain is profound for that very reason. That's why each move ahead feels like treading on shards of glass." The rain cascaded down, drenching them thoroughly. Daniel wore his costly suit with an air of indifference, seemingly oblivious to how it hugged his frame. "I love you," he stated plainly. "It seems to me that from that very first night, when you gazed at me with such boldness, even while you were crumbling within." Refrain. Listen closely, this is important. "Your strength, pride, and ability to forgive are truly admirable. Your influence inspires me to improve, strive for excellence, and embrace life more fully. Cease this immediately." She wept freely now, the rain concealing her sorrow. Now is not the time for these words, especially when everything is crumbling around us. When would be the appropriate time to express them? When is it secure? When is it effortless? He bridged the gap that separated them. My heart belongs to you, Isabel Bennett. Not in spite of our history, but due to the growth we've achieved from it. She gazed at him, this man who had purchased her for an evening and devoted months to winning her affection. I must return to my duties. Kindly. His hand grasped hers. Ensure Richard doesn't come out on top. Do not allow the past to undermine our future. Time is what I require. She withdrew. To ponder. For consideration. What is the duration? I'm uncertain. She pivoted to face the door. Then came to a halt. I cherish you as well, Daniel. This is precisely what renders the situation so challenging. Returning to the cafe, Ruby caught sight of her drenched look and enveloped her in a tight embrace. Return home, dear. This is the genuine article, without a doubt. This time, Isabel chose silence. She collected her belongings, steering clear of the inquisitive glances from patrons who had undoubtedly perused the article by now. Her phone buzzed incessantly with a torrent of messages. Companions, familiar faces, even the physician of her mother. Yet it was the most recent headline that captivated her attention. Trish is breaking down. Daniel Harrington convenes an urgent press conference. She observed the live stream from her apartment, fingers wrapped around a mug of tea that had long since lost its warmth. Daniel faced a sea of microphones, exuding a level of determination she had never witnessed in him before. Indeed, he confessed to the gathered reporters about the wager. A harsh, unthinking gamble that will haunt me for eternity. What began as a mere game evolved into a profound exploration of the human experience. In Worth, infatuated, the journalists buzzed with inquiries, yet he lifted a hand to command quietude. The woman at the heart of this narrative revealed to me that genuine value transcends monetary measures. She showed me that true strength is found not in possessions, but in the generosity of what you offer without expectation. I won't disclose her name or subject her to your conjecture, but I will state this. Her influence transformed my existence. Even if this scandal takes away my company, my reputation, and my fortune, it will have been worth it, for it brought me to her. Isabel's phone vibrated, signaling a message from Ruby. Wow, it's clear that he has deep feelings for you. Yet another message from her mother. At times, the most remarkable tales of affection begin in the most unexpected manners. The rain persisted, cascading down outside her window, purifying the city below. Isabel contemplated the implications of her decisions, exploring the depths of affection and the power of reconciliation, exploring the distinction between price and worth. Her fingers lingered above Daniel's contact information. The past 3 weeks unfolded with a certain beauty, yet perhaps they were a touch too effortless. Perhaps this tempest was essential to cleanse them of their final facades. She finally typed, I still need time. However, I am not fleeing from the situation. This time, no. His reply was prompt. I will be patient, for however long it may require. Your value is immeasurable. Isabel placed her phone aside, observing as the rain turned New York into a realm of hazy lights and gentle contours. At times, love transcended the need for extravagant displays or loud proclamations. At times, it was about the bravery required to confront difficult realities, to endure the elements, weathering the storm side by side, to create something genuine from the ruins of what was untrue. The specter of their inaugural evening remained ever present. Yet it no longer lingered in her thoughts. It had woven itself into the fabric of their narrative. This is not the conclusion. This is just the start. Yet an essential chapter in a narrative they continued to craft side by side. 30 days. That was the duration of Isabel's journey to rediscover her center. Amidst the whirlwind of media attention, the murmurs, the conjecture, she continued her efforts at Lucky Bean, with her head held high. Her mother's recovery was steadily advancing, and oddly enough, the scandal had resulted in a surprising increase in contributions to the hospital's research initiative. Daniel honored her wish for distance, reaching out with just a single message each morning. I'm present when you are prepared. Take your time. There are no requests. It was a steady presence that resonated more profoundly than any elaborate display. On a brisk December morning, Isabel finally responded. The elevated park known as the High Line. As the sun dips below the horizon this evening, the place of our inaugural genuine date. The day dragged on with excruciating lethargy. Ruby assisted her in shutting down the cafe ahead of schedule, attending to her looks with the care of a nurturing figure. Are you certain about this? She inquired, gently rearranging Isabel's scarf. I have complete confidence in him. The confidence in her voice caught them off guard. Winter reshaped the High Line. The gardens lie dormant beneath a blanket of frost. Festive lights shimmering in the approaching twilight. Daniel stood at their usual meeting place, holding 2 paper cups with anticipation. Rich and comforting, just as it always was. Hello, he stated plainly, extending a cup to her. Hello. She embraced it, their fingers lightly grazing against each other. You seem a bit worn out. I've been struggling to get a good night's sleep. His smile carried a hint of humility. It appears that love demands more energy than navigating hostile takeovers. They strolled in a serene quietude, savoring their beverages. The city unfolded beneath them, a harmonious blend of illumination and vitality. Isabel finally spoke up, mentioning that she had seen the news about Richard's countersuit. Daniel gave a slight nod. He is attempting to demonstrate that I breached our partnership agreement by making decisions on my own. Do you have concerns? Regarding the potential loss of the company? Negative. He halted his steps, pivoting to confront her. Concerning the thought of being without you? Filled with dread, Isabel observed him as the light began to dim. The refined CEO had vanished, giving way to a man who had grasped the essence of worth. I'm no longer yours to lose, she whispered gently. I understand. His voice had a gritty edge. You were never that. I overlooked that point at the outset. What comes next? I've come to understand that love isn't about possession. It's about the daily, conscious decision to choose one another in every moment. She inched nearer, captivated by the unfiltered truth in his voice. He continued, I went to see your mother recently. She was taken aback by this. What is the reason? Due to my desire for comprehension, to behold the individual for whom you had given up everything, to express my gratitude for nurturing a daughter who had the strength to shatter me and transform me into a better version of myself. Tears welled up in Isabel's eyes. What was her response? She called me a fool. His laughter resonated with authenticity. She shared with me stories of your father, emphasizing how he instilled in you the belief that true value lies not in possessions, but in generosity. He inhaled unsteadily. She mentioned that you've been quite unhappy over the last month. The time was essential for me. I understand. Was it beneficial? Isabel gazed across the city, her city, filled with its myriad complexities and contradictions. Indeed, I had to ensure that my choice of you was grounded in the right motivations, that we weren't merely attempting to revise our origin. So, and I came to understand, is there something on your mind? She glanced over her shoulder at him. Our origins do not determine our identity. Every choice we've made since then is what truly shapes our identity. Each stride leads us closer to the essence of reality, on the path to recovery, in the direction of affection. Daniel's hand gently cradled her cheek. She brushed away a tear she hadn't noticed had slipped down her cheek. I love you, he murmured softly, not due to that night nor in spite of it, but because of the individuals we've evolved into through all these experiences. I cherish you as well. The words resonated with liberation. I'm prepared and eager to begin. For what purpose? Rather than responding, she pressed her lips against his. It was entirely different from their initial experience. Lips met, fervent and yearning within the confines of that hotel room. This was soft, assured, brimming with potential. He enveloped her in his embrace, cradling her as if she were both a treasure and a pillar of strength. As they finally separated, The city had descended into complete darkness, with the holiday lights casting an enchanting radiance all around them. "I have something for you," Daniel said, as he reached into his coat pocket. "If this is a contract, I'm going to shove you off this path." Isabel issued a playful warning, eliciting his laughter. "No agreements." He retrieved a small, tattered piece of paper. Only this. It was the very first business card he had handed to her that morning at the cafe. The edges had become gentle from touch, the formerly sharp surface now marked and creased. "You held onto it to reflect on my past, my transformation, and my aspirations for the future." He extended it forward. "I envisioned us shaking things up, embarking on a brand new journey together." Isabel grasped one corner of the card, sensing the depth of their shared history in its delicate surface. United, they shredded it into minuscule fragments, allowing the frigid breeze to whisk them away like festive confetti. "What now?" she inquired, observing the fragments vanish into the darkness. "Now we craft our own narrative, free from costs, wagers, and power struggles." He drew her near. "Only the two of us. It will be a challenge," she cautioned. "The press, Richard's legal action, public perceptions. Nothing truly valuable comes easily." His kiss lingered gently on her temple. "Yet we have already endured the most challenging times. All that remains is mere distraction." They strolled along the remainder of the High Line, fingers intertwined, engaging in conversations that meandered through a tapestry of topics, both significant and trivial, concerning her mother's recovering well-being, regarding his ambitions to reshape Sterling Enterprises into a beacon of positivity, and reflecting on their collective future unfolding ahead like a blank page waiting to be filled. By her car, Daniel embraced her tightly, savoring the comfort of her presence. "Come live with me," he whispered. Isabel withdrew slightly, arching an eyebrow in curiosity. "That seems rather bold of you, Mr. Harrington." He quickly clarified that it wasn't to the penthouse. "I am putting it up for sale. Excessive apparitions. I purchased a charming brownstone in the West Village. For bedrooms, a garden, space for your mother when she's feeling better." "You purchased a house without consulting me?" "I acquired a residence with the hope that you would assist in transforming it into a true home." His gaze was sincere, affirmative. Isabel feigned contemplation. "Is there a quality coffee maker available?" "Exceptional quality. And a kitchen more spacious than Lucky Bean." She wrapped her arms around his neck. "Please make your request in a more appropriate manner." Daniel's smile shone brightly. "Isabel Bennett, the love of my life, the woman who revealed to me the essence of worth, will you join me in creating a home together?" "Absolutely." She pressed her lips against his gently. "However, I will be retaining my position at the cafe. I wouldn't choose any alternative." Later that night, nestled together on the couch in his hotel room, having left the penthouse weeks prior, they observed the city lights flicker across the ceiling. "You never did tell me?" Daniel pondered, gently toying with her fingers. "What was your true reason for accepting that night?" Isabel paused in silence. "For even in that moment, beneath all the fury and arrogance, I perceived something within you, a solitude that mirrored my own, a yearning for authenticity amidst a sea of superficiality." "What comes next?" She turned her gaze toward him. This man, who had purchased her for $1 million, ultimately bestowed upon her something far more invaluable. "I've come to realize that certain things are beyond the realm of commerce. They must be offered without reservation, selected each day, crafted with precision." Her fingers brushed against his cheek. "Similar to trust, similar to affection. Join us." Outside, snow started to descend, turning New York into a realm of endless possibilities. In a hospital room across town, Isabel's mother was steadily regaining her strength with each passing day. In a West Village brownstone, their future abode stood ready to be infused with warmth and joy. In that stillness, wrapped in each other's embrace under the serene night sky, they were just Daniel and Isabel, two individuals who discovered something genuine in the most unexpected setting, demonstrating that the value of genuine love transcends any monetary figure that could be assigned. "What is the value of your dignity?" Isabel made the profound decision to give up her own for the sake of her mother's love. Have you ever found yourself in a position where you had to weigh your beliefs against the well-being of someone dear to you? We invite you to share your thoughts in the comments section. Thanks a lot for viewing. If you found the story captivating, we invite you to subscribe to our channel and share your thoughts in the comments below. Your insights and encouragement hold great significance for us. Keep an eye out for more thrilling tales ahead.